I love that they are already here. Thank you for being here. All right, Kay Sterling, I got a theory. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to bet this. It's plus 1,200. I am going to bet that Tyrese Halliburton wins the MVP because of two reasons. The hometown thing. He's got the perfect game for an all-star game, and he's got enough respect in the league that you can justify it, and he'll probably get, 20 assists. What are your thoughts?
I totally agree. I think that he is really widely liked throughout the NBA, and that the players are going to make sure that he shows out. And I think it's a great bet. I think it's also a great bet that he wins the 3-point contest. If you can parlay those two, I think you can make real money. I love his shot. I just love watching him shoot. He hit a gob last year and then kind of faded in the following. Was it the finals where he had trouble? In one of them, he set the record. He is a guy who can make buckets.
I thought he was in the skills, not the 3-point. No, am I wrong?
He might be in all of it.
He probably is.
I know he's in the 3-point contest.
I'm not betting against him because he can shoot the damn ball. You excited All-Star Weekend, even though apparently, at least at my house, we got a blizzard?
Yeah, we've gotten about 2 inches so far, and my God, they're canceling high school basketball games. Wave it off! Stop the buses! Can you imagine? Nobody would play a single game if you lived in Western Michigan or Northwest Indiana or in Wisconsin. You'd have to postpone the whole season. Anyway, I'm kind of excited. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's an opportunity for Indianapolis to kind of show itself again that, you know what, we're a legit city, we're a major league city, and we're friendly and we're accommodating, and the downtown is built for this kind of thing. I think it's cool. I think it's fun.
364, that's the over-under number. Points.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Is that to be 181? Yeah, I think that's low.
Do you? I know. It's never gone that high. Last year, I forget what it was. It was close to that, like 370 something. But I saw this year, thank you, Otter Creek, fire Chris Ballard. That's our friend Otter Creek. You want Gus Bradley fired. You still want Gus Bradley fired. You're not off the Gus Bradley train yet, are you?
I think somebody's got to be held accountable for back-to-back 28th in the NFL in scoring defense. I think somebody's got to go. You can't just you can't say, well, you know what, we're going to get better next year with the same crew. That just seems ridiculous.
It goes against everything that is the NFL. Like, guy gets to the Super Bowl, Steve Wilkes. Guy holds freaking Mahomes to 19 points in regulation, and he gets his ass fired. And we're keeping a guy that second year in a row is 20. It just, what the Colts do goes against everything NFL, Kent.
It's unbelievable. I think that somewhere in the middle of those two things, logic can reign, right? Retaining Gus Bradley, firing Steve Wilkes, somewhere in between is common sense. I don't know where common sense is in the NFL. Maybe firing Gus Bradley after 2 years is too quick a trigger. I don't know. Those guys, they look at what they do and what they did, and they decide whether it's scheme or they decide whether it's people. If it's people, Otter Creek's right, and Ballard needs to go. If Otter Creek's wrong and it's scheme, not people, then Gus has got to go, and Ballard's got good people at those positions. I don't understand. Like, this is overtly patient. This is patient in the extreme. Does anybody, and you know what, we're wrong from time to time. I can't remember the last time you or I were wrong, but it happens from time to time. Maybe we're wrong here, and we're not going to have the same kind of season next year that we had as we had this year defensively, with everything being just like it was. I mean, nobody got hurt. The cornerbacks did. He had cornerback injuries and Isaiah Rodgers suspended and all that crap. But really, overall, that defense was kind of healthy. You got safeties who can't play. You got corners who can't play. And so what are you doing?
You like Juju Brents. He got hurt a little bit, so maybe that.
He
I don't.
did.
But one of the things that I don't want, people say, well, you want Ballard fired. I don't want him fired. I just want to point out that this is ridiculous. And if we want to be a team that is taken serious, at some point you got to win something. And at some point you got to hold people accountable. And that defense, whether it's 29th or 26th, it's not good enough. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's just simply not good enough. And the point and the fact of the matter is, all right, you're not going to have anything happen with Ballard now. But if we're sitting here without a playoff appearance next year, my God, I mean, at what point do you say, come on, we got to get better in every area, not just this area, every area? It's unbelievable.
You know what? If Anthony, here's the plan for Ballard's success moving forward without really achieving success minus achievement in 2024 is Anthony Richardson finding slow going at first, doesn't really find his footing in the NFL, and the Colts start out slow because of that. And then they pick up steam toward the end of the season, and he shows himself to be a little bit better as a starting quarterback. And you look at 2025 and say, hey, if he starts next year the way he ended this year, despite the fact that the Colts wound up 8-9 or 9-8, Ballard's back for another trip through the league.
No way in hell. No way in hell. No, I won't tolerate it. I'll march on 56th Street. I'm just saying, man. I made fun of the 10-year plan, and now the 10-year plan is it would be like 9. And if you don't make the playoffs next year, I don't give a damn if Anthony Richardson throws for 5,000 yards and they're all in the last 6 games. I ain't keeping the guy who orchestrated this because it just ain't happening. Oh man, it
is really strange. What you don't want to do, you don't want to become that franchise that swaps guys out every 4 years. You don't want to become the Chicago Bears. You can't do that. You can't sustain success.
Okay, how about 9 years?
But you got to hire the right guy.
How about 9 years?
Yeah, well, you know what? That worked for IU and Tom Crean, didn't it? They were patient for 9 years, and that seemed to be plenty.
You're still bitter. You still don't like Crean. I say, man, Crean was better than what they brought in since, but that's all right. I digress.
Is that the bar though?
No.
Hiring somebody better than Tom Crean, for the love of God, this is what we're.
No, it's not. But the thing that I'm saying is, it's hard for me to say Crean was all bad when I look at this catastrophe that has ensued since. It's like, damn, would we be lucky to have Crean? I don't know. But I know this. I know Ballard. There is no chance that Ballard can ever say he wasn't given every opportunity here in Indianapolis. Unfortunate that Andrew Luck quit. Okay, I get it. You need a quarterback. Oh, fine. But son of a biscuit maker, you got to be able to overcome that at some point. And you got to be able to say, hey, I'm going to have the stones to maybe make an out-of-the-box move. Maybe I draft Josh Allen, not Quentin Nelson. I don't know. But this crap, if they don't make it, I'm not going with your Mr. Optimism. He could throw Richardson for 1,000,000 yards, and I ain't keeping a GM. I'm hardly keeping nobody if they don't make the playoffs next year.
No. Well, I really like Steichen. I think Steichen's a good coach. I think they're building something. I don't know whether Ballard and his kind of philosophy of roster construction works, that like strictly inside out again and again and again, inside out, without really addressing what we know wins football games, and that's a dynamic tight end and somebody who can, be a possession receiver and stretch a defense, somebody who can do both. Go figure. That, and having a franchise level quarterback. I think Ballard tried to address that with Richardson, so I'll give him credit for that. But you can't go into next season hoping for a championship with I like Will Mallory. I like all those guys. Jelani Woods, good guy. But you can't go into the season with those guys and think that you're going to be able to measure up against Travis Kelce and George Kittle and all these other studs at that position.
One of the things that I think is interesting for the Colts, I do, and this has not changed. They need playmaker, and more playmaker. But I think it really hurt the Colts, and maybe it didn't. We'll find out. But I would like to have had Richardson play 8 games, 10 games, 12 games,
Yeah.
as opposed to just a game or two, 4 games. I just feel like, what do you really know? You know he's pretty good in the red zone. You know he can run it in for a touchdown, couple touchdown passes, but you know he can do that. And Steichen, I thought, was pretty clever in using Richardson during the short period of time that they had together. So I'm not unenthused about Richardson, and I'm not unenthused about the Colts. I'm not, but I do think this. I do think at some point you got to pull the trigger and be able to find whether it's through a trade or whether it's through your own scouting. You got to find a playmaker. And whether that, and I would like a playmaking tight end, whether Jelani Woods, maybe he comes back and he's that guy. I don't know. But I got to I just look at the teams. I mean, look at the teams that win, particularly with a young quarterback. Who's the safety valve? Guy in the middle of the field that's a tight end. Hell, even for Mahomes, when they were struggling and they had to go to the pass in the Super Bowl, how about the fourth quarter that Travis Kelce had, for crying out loud? I mean,
You look at Andy Reid and the way he puts this thing together, and they've let Tyreek Hill go. They've let guys go, right? They draft guys, then they're gone. And the one guy they don't let go, obviously Mahomes, but they don't let Travis Kelce go any place.
right.
You've got to have that tight end, that elite level tight end, who's the safety valve and the guy who can move the sticks for you late in the game. So with 4 minutes left, you're going to put points on the board and win instead of get caught and give it up on fourth down. That fourth down in the overtime. I mean, they don't get that. They lose the Super Bowl. They've got a quarterback and a tight end who can go get you first downs, go get you touchdowns. You have to have it. You can't not have it. You can get by without a left guard, but you can't get by without a dynamic tight end.
No, and that's what I know. We're about after the draft. We're going to get back to May, and you're going to be Mr. Optimism, and I'm probably going to say the same thing, which is you better find some freaking playmakers around these parts. That,
Look
no,
at him. Look at the speed on this kid. It's unbelievable. Anthony Richardson is throwing the ball 148 yards. This is unbelievable. That catch. Yeah, we'll do that. This isn't the time, though. Like February 16th is not the time to have the big giant grin on your face coming off a 9-8.
no, it's not. No, it's. Do you think anything would have happened to Ballard or maybe anybody in that organization had Jimmy Irsay been healthy?
Ooh, that's the question, because nobody with and Ursay has tweeted since that tweet where he said he's on the mend. He's tweeted about Dwight Freeney, and it sounded like him again. So I guess that's kind of proof of faculties. So you've got the daughters who aren't ready to make a decision, Jimmy not ready to make decisions. That's a great question. I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows what would have happened with Jimmy, riding the controls. Jimmy is like, yeah, this is a dated reference, but in a mad, 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 mad world, he's Jim Backus flying the plane with Mickey Rooney and Buddy Hackett. You don't know where that plane's going to wind up. You know what I mean? I apologize to people who haven't seen that movie, which was made 60 years ago. Jim Backus was very funny as the pilot who really didn't know where the hell he was going.
Guy asked me, Coach, have you had any alcohol since last stream? Yes. I had a couple beers yesterday at a business meeting. Yeah, I did have a beer at the Purdue game, before the Purdue game at Nine Irish Brothers. So there you go. I did
You
go.
got to do what you got to do. It's all for business, Dan. When you've got a
Yeah.
business meeting and the guy you're doing business with orders a beer, by God, you got to order a beer.
Uh-oh. You broke down, but I got you now. I'm with you. Guy that I'm doing business with is drinking. I'm having beers, but I did go the month of January. None, zero zip. Hey, Kent, speaking of this, look, I Indiana being at the game was nowhere near as good as Purdue. And I said this, like Braden Smith is so freaking good that I don't think we've done a show since. Chris Foreman got Lee and I passes. He said there's only one seat, but hey, just stand in the tunnel. So we literally stood in the tunnel, 20 feet off the floor. Indiana's playing pretty well. Indiana's going. Next thing you know, I'm looking out of a timeout, and there is Gabe Cupps talking. Not bad, not good. I don't even know what he was talking to freaking Brandon Smith. Next thing you know, Brandon Smith bucket, 4 buckets and an and one between the 13-minute mark when he was talking and the 10-minute mark. And I remember thinking, you dumbass, I don't care if you're talking about nice. Just shut up. Nothing. And then Braden Smith last night was unbelievable against Minnesota. That dude might be the best point guard in the country. He might
He's
be.
really, really good.
Oh,
Let me ask you this. So were you a trash talker? Did you like
I
yipping and
couldn't.
yapping with guys?
I couldn't shut up.
Did you have the ability then with tape and that kind of thing to scout maybe whose kitchen you could get into
Yeah.
successfully?
Yes. Shut up against Skiles. Shut up against Eric Turner at Michigan. Shut up against Sam Vincent. Shut up against guys that could kill you. Like, just shut up.
I don't think Gabe Cupps is going to work at that level if he was giving Braden Smith a little bit of crap.
Yeah, I don't
I
know if he
don't think
was.
that's good use of his time.
I don't know if he was. It wasn't demonstrative, but I know that Smith just stood there like this with his hands on his shoulders, and Cup was just, hey, Braden, how you doing? Maybe we get a bite to eat later. I don't have any idea. All I know is that dude. And then after the game, he said, "Yeah, I was kind of surprised at how easy I was able to get to the rim against Indiana." Lee looked at me and she goes, "Dan, either this kid Smith is the quickest guy in the country, or Indiana guys are the slowest freaking dudes ever," because he was going shoop, right by him. But I'm telling you, man, Braden Smith, wow. Was he, let me ask you this, because I didn't follow him in high school. Was he really good?
No, I mean, he was the guy, if you went to a game, if it was Hamilton Southeastern and Westfield, you wouldn't be able to tell Braden Smith from the rest of the guys on the floor. Short white guys who do short white guy things. Not. I don't think he was. I was like, wow, Braden Smith's going to Purdue. What? Okay. It was kind of like, and we've talked about this. Oh, who is the kid from Carmel who went to Michigan? Oh, Stu Douglas.
Oh.
Where I was like, has John Beeline slipped a cog? What the hell's the matter with him? Stu Douglas. Well, Stu Douglas wound up being a pretty damn good player, and that shows you why John Beeline's where John Beeline was and why Matt Painter's where Matt Painter is. That those guys recognize things in players that maybe guys like me don't. That could be possible.
I thought it was interesting because he does everything you want, talking about Braden Smith, and he doesn't change expression. Like what? It's not like he's dull. He gets enthusiastic, but he doesn't change expression about his own accomplishment, meaning he gets a bucket. Yeah, he's not doing all that Indiana crap, shoot it into my veins or sling arrows or all the shit that losers do. I tell you this, though, last night, this is the stuff I love. So last night, he gets dove on against Minnesota, and he gets called for a foul, I think. And he drops a that's MF and BS at the referee, and he gave about 3 of them. Now, when I say at the referee, he had turned, the referee was moving away. So the referee, I'm sure, did not see nor hear him drop it, but it was glorious. I started laughing. Lee looked at me. She goes, "What?" I go, "I got to play this back for you." I go, "Watch this. This is unbelievable." And he dropped it a couple, and he kind of had that annoyed, but he got up with the ball. That's, and I'm like, oh yeah, yeah.
Mike Miller used to be the head coach of Buff, and then he was at Lawrence Central. And before all of that, he was an assistant for Cathedral right when he was out of college. And Cathedral had to play Skiles and Plymouth in the morning session of the state championship. That, when it was a great day, and you had the 2 morning games, and then you had the evening game. And he says that Skiles grabbed a teammate and said, We can't have that shit. And the teammate looked at him and said, okay. And Miller was like, we were done. It was over. If you got a guy who leads like that, and you got guys who follow that leader like that, you got no chance whatsoever to be successful. And that, I think, is what Braden Smith is.
I used to MF my teammates if they didn't give me the ball. And I would tell them, I did. Like when we played you guys in New Albany, I go, I don't give a shit. I practice more than you. Now give me the fucking ball. Like,
did they?
Oh God, I shot 32 times in the game.
Yeah, they did in the second half. I remember the second half.
Pissed me off. It's like, wait, give me this is how we fucking got here. Like I remember screaming at halftime, and I weighed 102 pounds, and that's why actually I'm nice enough. The Indiana Hall of Fame is inducted me, and I invited my two senior, Kevin Page and Mike Paulson. They were my guests. I'm like, you guys got to come because I was such a dick, and you guys were so great, and you passed me the ball, and you were seniors, and you didn't give a shit other than winning. As I'm MFing you at 102 pounds, but that's what you do. I want to say this too. I am off. I am done. No more Galloway hate from me. Standing there with Lee under the basket, Galloway plays hard. Galloway cares. Galloway is hindered because he's got a bunch of dudes that are nice players, not bad kids, but they got no freaking idea how to play. And standing that close to the court, I learned these dudes got no idea what the fuck they're doing. None.
Excuse me for asking this. But is this, like, before the season, you were his biggest cheerleader and said he should be a first-team All-American. Is this you covering yourself saying, look, his teammates are Jags, and that's why he's not a first-team All-American? This is you kind of, or is this a genuine, Trey Galloway is really being hamstrung by the jackaloons he's on the floor with?
No, it's not even that. It's not really that. I think Trey Galloway's talent is being now it's being used. He's doing everything. So I thought his talent, the way he would have been used at Indiana, would have made him a first-team All-American. Then I was ripping him. Like I was ripping him every week. I mean, he's at the bars. He's worried about women. I mean, he's not playing well. And I'm like, look, I've had enough. I don't give a shit. And then the last couple of games, particularly the Purdue game, because I was crushing him on my show. And I watched it and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. He's playing really hard. They're asking him he's got to handle the ball. Johnson's out. He's got to set up the pick and roll. He's got to talk. And I hadn't been to a game. What I saw on TV and standing underneath the basket for the Purdue game, I saw a totally different version of what I saw on television. I thought he played ridiculously hard. He was asked to do every single thing. Now think about it. He's playing with two bigs who aren't from Indiana, who weren't well coached in high school. He's playing with another kid, Mbako. I call him Taco Bell. Taco Bell is over here thinking he's a first-team All-American because Kansas and Duke recruited him. And then he's got Gabe Cupps, who's out there going, man, I don't know where the hell I'm at. So he's got to do everything. It's not that his teammates are Jags. It's just that it's a bad mix this year. Now, next year, it'll be a good mix if everybody comes back.
What do you do if you're Galloway and you're in his position, you're the hardest working kid on the team, and you've got guys who aren't ponying up? I guess it depends on whether you got the backing of the head coach to go after guys, doesn't it?
It depends how that going after guys is overrated unless it's real. Like if it's not real,
right?
Feel that maybe that's not who he is. I don't know, but if that's not who if it's real, then it does. You just do it. If it's not real, then people are going to see that it's not. I personally felt watching Trey Galloway on. I always go by, and I think you know this. Would I follow that guy? Would I play that coach? And I'm watching Galloway, and I changed my entire deal. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll give it to him, man. I was wrong. I was wrong to say he should be a first-team All-American because he's not going to be on this team. But if he played for Bob Knight back in the heyday, he would have been. But I was also wrong ripping him because man, that dude got to do it. Now, I'm not the off the court stuff. You got to get your ass in the gym. You got to learn to be a better shooter. You shouldn't miss free throws if you're working on it, that kind of stuff. But god dang, was he asked to do a lot in a very physical game. And he, for the most part, he delivered. He really did.
Did you watch any of the Northwestern Rutgers game last night?
I did.
Is it just a matter of stopping Bowie and waiting for them to kind of self-destruct like they sort of did? They got off to a really good start, and then the kid gets run on that flagrant two, which is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, that was idiotic. That was ridiculous. That's when I turned it on. And actually, I live bet. I took Rutgers because the crowd got going. Look, it is hard anywhere. I mean, anywhere to overcome loss of a really good player in Ty Berry. Okay, he's been really good. And now you take this kid out, Lockridge, whatever his name is, and he's a fifth-year senior. He's played at Princeton. He's played in big things. And frankly, now you're asking them to play two men down, two good players down, in a place that is really well coached. It's going to explode. They're going to defend eventually. I don't care who they're playing. Rutgers eventually will defend. So I live bet them and made a lot of money last night because with two guys. Anyway, yes, to your point, you're going to have to not let somebody else go nuts. Not going to have to let a big guy go nuts. You're not going to have to let the Lockage kid, I think, comes back. But Ty Berry, or not Ty Berry, the other kid, Boo Boo, he'll beat you. But I'll say this. If Indiana doesn't win this game, screw the whole thing. Like, go Chris Holtman style and get rid. 3:00 game Sunday, Northwestern. You're begging for Division I, Quad 1 wins. Dude, win the freaking game and shut the living hell up. That's it.
And then you've got Nebraska on Wednesday, and they haven't won a road game since December 17th.
And it's a Quad 1 win, too.
Yeah.
Like, when's the last time, man? When's the last time? When's the last time at home and Northwestern at home are Quad 1 wins at a time when you're begging for Quad 1 wins? Holy hell. I wish
Let me ask you something, because I don't know who this gentleman is. And I know that you've been critical of the staff, but I get asked all the time who he is, and I don't know. The gentleman who sits to Mike Woodson's right on the bench with a mustache, who is he and what's he doing?
Armand Hill is actually kind of a legendary player. He played at Princeton, and I think he took, or Penn, and I think he was the point guard when Penn went to the Final Four in '79 with Bird in them. And then he played in the NBA 8 or 9 years, and he's been a long time NBA sit right there on the end of the bench coach. He's done that for I don't know how many teams. And I never see him say anything. I think he's Woody's sauna buddy, his wine buddy, his steak buddy. I think he's his guy that he just hires. I think Lawrence Frank had to fire both of them with the Clippers because they kept falling asleep in meetings. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not. But what does he do? I don't know.
When they were coaches?
Huh?
When they were coaches? They fell asleep in meetings?
Yeah, I don't know what their jobs were, but that's what I heard. You know, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, a former Indiana guy told me that because he heard me complaining about Armand Hill. Like, what the hell does this guy do? I always see him on the end of the bench, right?
Right.
And guy said, yeah, I looked him up, and then they said, yeah, you know, he's I think he and Woody got. I think former Indiana manager Lawrence Frank, the president of the Clippers, I think they gave. I don't. That's probably wrong. I'm probably spreading a bad rumor, but that's what I heard.
It's an entertaining rumor.
It's not bad. Sorry. But anyway,
let me go back to the flagrant for a minute, because I truly don't understand this. The flagrant, the going to the monitor took better than 5 minutes. And good for Jess, who is doing the game, Jess Settles, saying this is taking more than 5 minutes in real time to decide whether it's a flagrant or not. Flagrant, the definition of flagrant is a conspicuous or obvious. It's something that's conspicuously or obviously offensive. So it's got to be obvious. I don't understand going to the monitor to call something that, if it is flagrant by definition, you should have seen it with your own eyeballs and understand that it's flagrant. I don't get how this rule is dealt with.
Well, that's a good question. I think sometimes you miss things, and then when you go back to the monitor, you see it. But I also think sometimes you miss things because they're not that big a deal when they happen, and you go to a monitor and they look like a bigger deal on replay. Now, people say the eye in the sky don't lie. I've never really bought that. I've never really thought the eye in the sky. I think the eye in the sky can lie. You can't tell intent. You can't tell. Like,
Right.
I think Lee and I were talking the other day. Somebody got hit, and she said, he's flop. He didn't get hit that high. I said, "Do you know how hard a 7'4" Edie hit somebody?" I said, "You know how hard a 7'4" guy?" Like, I always say, I think I got a fake hip because Richard Relaford knocked me over on a screen that the foul was called on me. And I remember, like, damn. And nobody said a word. It wasn't like anybody said it was a hard hit except for me and my hip, like, for
Yeah.
like the next 20 years. So, everybody's big, but I don't like if it's a flagrant foul and you're going to kick someone out. Now, that's a big deal this time of year because you're playing. Well, I mean, you're playing for conference title, conference seeding in the tournament. You're playing for NCAA bids. You're playing for NCAA seeding, and you're going to kick someone out on something you three guys did not see. I don't like it.
And the official was right there. It wasn't
Right,
like it was behind the plane. You had
right.
to check it. He's right the hell there, 4 feet away, staring at it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I get it. You want to call it and you want to say, okay, take a free throw, fine. But you kick somebody out. That's a big deal. I remember, I forget, I don't think I had somebody kicked out. Somebody against us was kicked out. And I remember going, are you sure you want to do that? I mean, God dang. Like, I don't know. I got kicked out. And yeah, I should have been because I was insane. But I just don't, I just don't like that. And that kid's I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if the kid, star player. I guess that shouldn't matter. You kick them out if you think they're supposed to be kicked out, I suppose. But I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like
It likely cost Northwestern the game. They wind up losing by 3. That kid's
that.
got to
No.
be worth 3 points over the course of the last 30 minutes of the game.
Well, that's what
I
made me.
thought it was ridiculous, and and I could care less. I don't even know why I was watching the game, but it was Collins and Peichel. I have no great love or admiration for either of them, and there you go. Game, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it lifts, it gives Northwestern something more to play for. Maybe it's something that kind of deflates them. I don't know, but Indiana's in a position where they got to go win games, and that game Sunday afternoon against Northwestern is really, really important. And Northwestern hadn't won a road game in a long time. Nebraska either. You've got 4 at home, 3 on the road to end the season. You end the season at home against Michigan State. The roadies are Maryland, Minnesota, and Penn State. I think you got to win all 7 to get into the NCAA tournament. I think you got to go 13-7, and maybe you have to win one besides as you go to the Twin Cities for the Big Ten tournament. Dan's connection has failed momentarily, but this is what we do. This is why we've got 2 guys talking, 2 guys on the.
What
Are
happened?
you there audio wise, just not video wise?
What happened?
I don't know.
My brother called me, and the next thing you know, my connection went south. I got to put the no calls. I got to run here. Let me ask you prediction. Does Indiana win against Northwestern?
I gotta believe they will. I'm rocking the hoodie, expensive hoodie I bought at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. So that's the willingness I have to invest in this program and in my fandom. I think they win, or I don't know. Do you get impatient enough if the season goes south? Do you get impatient enough to do something silly and
No,
replay it somehow?
I don't think so. I
I
don't.
don't think so either.
I don't. My biggest decision is I look outside and it's blowing and it's windy and I'm gonna try to get off this and convince my wife not to go downtown because
That shouldn't be hard.
it's nasty outside. I
Yeah.
gotta run.
What do you want? You want to drive, number one, number two, park, number three, walk, and then what the hell do you do from there? Do you have tickets to anything, or are you just going to kind of roam around and try to find fun?
Lee and I can find fun. I think her daughter might be holed up at St. Elmo's with her boyfriend, and that's an invitation to us. But I'm looking outside. I'm sitting in my own house, freezing my ass off right now. So I don't know. But I know this. I'm looking at that fireplace, maybe a hot shower, and calling it a night on a Friday. But I ain't the boss, brother.
Save it for Saturday.
All right. I'll be in
All
touch.
right.
Thanks,
If
guys.
you go, stay safe. All right, we'll talk to you. And thanks to everybody for watching, listening,
Yeah.
taking part in the comments. Hit the like button. That's the thumbs up. Subscribe, for goodness sake. And thanks for the donations. Really appreciate it. Have a great weekend and enjoy this weekend. Don't worry about the weather.
Yeah, don't worry about it.